Good afternoon. I'm Dan Holton, CEO of Cypris Medical. Happy to be here to talk about how our suturing platform is changing plastic surgery. So we know that plastic surgery provides the best, most efficacious results. However, I think as we've seen today, despite enormous growth in aesthetics, surgery volume is flat. And that really is due to the fact that there's an unmet need in the market that patients want lower downtime and less invasive options. That's why we focused on facial aging as the first application of our platform. And there's really three factors that contribute to facial aging that we've talked about today. The first two, skin changes and volume loss, are well addressed in the market. There are several minimally invasive options that are available, that are effective, and they're well adopted. However, gravitational descent, there's still an unmet need. Surgery provides the best option. However, that market has been flat. And really the reason for that is that the current technology doesn't address the unmet need. Today, the best options are surgical, but extended procedure time, longer procedures, pain management, more downtime have limited adoption. On the other end are thread lifts, which are minimally invasive, but are less effective since they don't mobilize the underlying anatomy. So there is an unmet need in the market, and our solution is Exact. And this is our first commercial device. It is a single-use disposable device that extends a surgeon's hands. From a single incision that's remote, you can grab tissue and suture it with precision and accuracy. We are FDA cleared. We have over 1,000 procedures to date and 20 patents across 7 regions worldwide. So the unique way the device works, and what is unique about it, is that it combines two technologies that are over 100 years old, the needle driver and forceps. And it does that with two innovative technologies. First is ARC, or accurate repeatable capture. This technology, the geometry of the device, allows for a surgeon to capture a precise amount of tissue before they suture it. The second is NPS, or negative pressure suturing. By connecting the device to a vacuum source, a surgeon is able to deliver a suture in a difficult-to-reach location. So this is what some of the results look like. This patient is a palsy patient of Dr. Oren Friedman. The procedure was a facial resuspension of the midface and lateral brow. You can see improved symmetry. This was all from a single incision in the temple area. We have been have had no adverse events since our first IRB study in 2016. The second patient is an endoscopic patient of Dr. Yuli Goroditsky, who is a graduate of Dr. Ko's Pony Lift Academy. Basically, with small incisions in an endoscopic lift, you're able to mobilize and resuspend tissue with minimal recovery time, and that's because there's less dissection, there's minimal incisions, and less tissue disruption. This is really driving a lot of our commercial traction, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And then lastly, this patient is a patient of Lou Bucky, Dr. Lou Bucky. This is a minimal access midface and neck lift. This procedure is done with, again, it's a very short procedure, minimum access, and it's suitable to be done in the office, and is also a good option. So based on our commercial traction, we've got 13 active surgeons today that are reordering our product consistently, and that is with zero commercial infrastructure. We have seen over 190% year-over-year growth, and this is purely based on word of mouth, surgeon-to-surgeon peer selling in the endoscopic facelift community. So this is really our validation that we've had surgeons that have ordered our product, used our product, and reordered it, and that was kind of a key for us. And that is kind of part of our wedge right now. The only limitation for more sales in at least the facial aesthetics market is really patient recruitment. So we validated the wedge at these 13 surgeons with the reoccurring revenue, which is has us at about $200K average per year. I will notate we are cash flow positive and profitable, so we are very capital efficient. However, to grow that, we want to now move into the facial aesthetic market more broadly in the U.S. We've calculated that 10% share of the surgeons in the U.S. would give us about $6 to $10 million in facial aesthetics alone. As we look to grow the company beyond that, the opportunity lies in indication expansion, so body contouring, breast and breast procedures. In addition, moving out into international markets, we have a lot of interest there. And then lastly, trocar closure, which is a kind of a unique opportunity. And I'm going to spend a minute talking about the trocar closure market because it is an example of an extension of the platform. And I'm going to hurry up because it says I have 13 seconds. So this market is a really great market for us. It's a large growing market, same 510K approval process. It's a large market that we estimate at $100 to $280 million. Today, most of the trocar closure is in laparoscopic surgery, and it's not been well adapted to the robotic surgery market. We're raising $6 million. 50% of it's going to be geared towards expanding the indication, international expansion, 30% on that trocar expansion, 20% on operational matters such as working capital and IP. So I'll zip through, and that's
Why
it.
don't you stay right there? Any questions or comments? Sharks, how about you, Dan?
Look, I think from a target product profile, it's very cool. And this sort of segmentation between the injectables and the surgery is real, and it's clearly underpenetrated. I guess I'm just trying to think about the scalability and what's the limitations? Is it training? Is it pricing? How are you sort of thinking about that scalability from the 13,000 that you've demonstrated now to a meaningful business?
Yeah, so it's training. This is a surgical, although it is a minimally invasive surgical procedure, it is a surgical procedure. So you do need to have, and so when you look at the amount we're looking for in that area, it is to bring on clinical resources. So right now I have a backlog of 6 to 8 physicians that want to use the product. I have a limitation in training them. And
Dennis, if I could just ask one more question.
Sure.
This is probably the best of the best thought leaders who were part of this initial group. How many times have you attempted to use it and you just couldn't get it to work and you had to convert to something else? What's the percentage of that?
Yeah, recently none, right? So early on, quite a bit, quite a few failures. So the issue is really cheese wiring.
Okay.
And we solved that problem with that. It took us about 5 years to solve that problem. And so that was the problem we solved. To get to now from a strategics perspective, what I can tell you is the training of surgeons is a great halo opportunity for selling additional products. I came from a cardiovascular background where we had limited access to clinicians. I've never had more surgeon-to-surgeon selling time than being in the OR with them. Typically, they'll have me stay for an extra case because there is nobody trying to sell them surgical products in the surgery suite. So it is a partnership strategy. We are not going to build a sales force. We want to partner.
Anyway, Lynn?
I think it's great that you've been able to demonstrate some commercial progress, especially with zero commercial infrastructure, so that's fantastic. I was a little surprised to see the potential of the aesthetics facial revenue at 6 to 10 million, right? Especially given you want to raise $6 million. And I think for this to be a compelling investment opportunity, we need to see a larger market to make the juice worth the squeeze, right? So I guess, what's your path to raising the cap on the penetration rate within facial aesthetics? And if that's not high, then what's the best pathway to get some product market fit proof points in the next market?
So that's a good point. That was a bottoms up assessment, not a top down market share. So it is a truly addressable market. But really the key is to start to address that facial market in the US, the 6 to 10, expand outside the US, which doubles that, expand the indications beyond facial aesthetics, which will increase the per surgeon use. And then really, I think the big play is going after that trocar opportunity. So this capital gets us to that international and facial aesthetic advancement, as well as kind of the proof of concept and regulatory path for the trocar.
So with the existing product, you feel like the penetration cap is 10% within aesthetics, or do you think it's actually higher?
Yeah, so it would be 10% of facial aesthetics, and it's 10% surgeon adoption only in the U.S.
I see.
So it's probably about double that outside the U.S.
Thank you.
Robert?
Is this on or no? Okay, great. So I'm 45, right? And all my friends are calling me now, like, are we getting facelifts, right? Facelifts are very hot. All the celebrities are getting them, you know, very expensive out of New York City. I live in New York City. So where are you positioning yourself in the market here? You're not Threads, you're not a facelift, right? So in a market like me, where we're turning 45, 50, 55, ready for that next facelift, but a little scared to do that, you know, what is your marketing pitch for women like me and my friends?
So really we haven't, I'll be honest to say, we haven't spent a lot of time on that direct-to-consumer positioning yet, because we're still trying to generate that activity with the surgeon. So we really rely on the surgeon, but patient acquisition is a key element. We know that patients are doing research, they're looking for these less invasive options. The way we've positioned it is, the device is a general use device. It can be used anywhere in the body. So we typically rely, think of it as Intel Inside. We want to enable the surgeon to offer that procedure to their patient using our technology. We do need to work on patient acquisition. Like I said, so it's a classic example of supply and demand. We need to set up the franchises of surgeons in their markets and then generate that demand by working with them on patient recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, just one more thing. I think that's really important right now in the market, right? Like, I think what you're doing is great. I love the outcomes on the picture, but how are you going to get people like me to be like, okay, instead of a facelift, right, I'm going to go with this, right? And that's a really big shift that you need to work on within, you know, social media, or like, what's the pitch going to be? So I think that's something to consider.
Can I answer that?
Yep.
So I've used the product. It isn't instead of, this is to augment the facelift. When I've used it in my facelifts and in my neck lifts. I think of it, and when I explain it, it just makes my arm longer. I can reach further down through a small incision all the way down to the midface, and I can hike up the midface in ways I couldn't otherwise do, because my arm isn't long enough or my hand is too big and you can't get down here without more invasive surgery. This will not be a standalone procedure. This will be something that we use when we're doing ponytail facelifts, or when we're doing deep point facelifts, or we're doing mastectomy facelifts and so forth. It's a way in which we can augment our existing surgery. We're not going to market to you and say this is instead of a facelift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but what about the body, right? So you say you can use this on the body. So how are we doing it? How long do the sutures last, right? Why are we adding it into the facelift, right? There's a lot of things that women like my age who are looking at those things. Why are we adding this on, right?
Yeah.
Traditional.
So to be clear on the expansion of indication, we do need to do some of that clinical work. And as a testament to our limitation in training, Dr. Franco has volunteered to help with this. We still have to get him trained. This has been like 9 months of us trying to get in there and train him. So we just have a limiting function there. But to your point, it's understood that we do need to make sure that we know these options are available.
Mark.
Dan, you're raising capital. Could you give us a quick glimpse of what the unit economics look like?
Can you be more specific on the capital itself, or?
Specifically on the product. So how do you make money? What are the margins look like?
So we've got about an 80-90% margin on the product. We also have we sell the devices as a single-use disposable. We also have a proprietary suture. One of the features of our new device is that it has a multi-pass ability, which makes it, you can pass the suture multiple times, which makes it appropriate for.
And are the disposables and sutures consumables or per
All
device?
the entire device and the sutures are consumable, so it's a single-use device.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
Dan.